If you want to, you can turn to 1 Samuel chapter 21. 1 Samuel chapter 21. I got a couple of points I want to make from this text as we offer the invitation to you. What would happen if we had a situation where our pulpit was in Orlando, our Lord's Supper table was in Tampa, and our classrooms were in Miami? How confusing would that be? It'd be awful. I mean, how can you get anything done if you have a situation like that? Now, I realize none of those items are sacred, so we just get a table and we'd make it work. But what if those items were mandatory? They were sacred. They were set apart from God for particular reasons, and all these things are scattered throughout the entire area. That would make things very difficult to worship God. Well, that's what happened in the Old Testament, and that's what happens in our lives when we don't submit our life to God. We scatter everything around, and we don't have everything focused in one place and our mind in heaven where it belongs. Everything gets out of whack. It gets confusing, and we're not able to worship God the way that we should. Now, this is a point that I missed both times we've studied David recently, and as I'm talking about this to the middle school class, it hit me in a very unique way this time, and I want to share some of these thoughts with you. You remember when Eli and his sons were not doing the proper things, that bad things happened. The Ark of the Covenant got stolen. And when the Ark of the Covenant got stolen and it was returned, they really had no place to put it, because probably in that same battle, Shiloh was destroyed. Shiloh was where the Ark of the Covenant was. It is where the tabernacle was, and it was where all the priests did what they were supposed to do. Everything was unified in that particular city. They decided to use the Ark of the Covenant, sort of like a good luck charm. It was taken away. The Philistines destroyed Shiloh. The priest had to leave Shiloh, and they ended up going to Nob. Now, Nob was a city where they were carrying out religious functions, but the Ark of the Covenant wasn't there. So that's a problem, and we're going to find out some more problems, because who is here are Eli's descendants. They're in Nob, and when David has to leave running from Saul after that whole incident where he has with Jonathan the arrows, and Jonathan finally concludes, yeah, my dad is really trying to kill you, after his dad threw a spear at him too. And so David has to leave. David goes to Nob. When he gets to Nob, he asks for food. What is the only food that is available to him? It's the showbread. So we can assume if there's showbread there, the table of showbread has to be there, and there's probably some makeshift tabernacle there. We're never told. The Bible never says that the tabernacle was set up in Nob. Later on, when David becomes king, it says it was set up in Gibeon, but we never told it was set. We could make a pretty good conclusion that some kind of tent was there. Although there's no need to have a most holy place, because there's no Ark of the Covenant. Now, if you go forward to the New Testament, in the Herod's temple, there's no Ark of the Covenant either, is there? There's a most holy place, but there's no Ark of the Covenant. They put a rock there to sort of symbolize the Ark of the Covenant. So now you have the Ark of the Covenant in one place, the priest and the holy things in another city, Nob, but then David says, do you have any weapons? And this small little detail here, the priest says, the only weapon we have is the sword of Goliath. It's behind what? You remember this? The ephod. That is in verse 9 of 1 Samuel chapter 21. It's behind the ephod. So the ephod's in Nob, along with the table of showbread and the showbread. Well, as you continue to read the story, what happens to Nob? Totally destroyed, because they gave help to David. Sort of the reason. It goes all the way back. Those are all Eli's descendants, and what did God say were going to happen to all Eli's descendants? They're going to be destroyed. So now what happens to the ephod? The last priest standing takes it. And David has it now. So the ephod is with David. The Ark of the Covenant is somewhere else. And the tabernacle, as far as we know, is no more for right now. We have no idea that the whole city was destroyed. Everybody left it. When we don't follow after God, the only thing that follows is chaos. The only thing that follows is messed up lives, and when holy things aren't treated holy, it's just disaster. And that's what later on, who is the one that reunites all those things? David. He reunites them all, right? He brings the ark back to Jerusalem in a sort of a makeshift holding for the ark, but he wasn't the one that finalized that. It was Solomon that finalized it. Because when they go get everything, they have to go back to Gibeon to get the altar. So now, Solomon with the temple, God's presence is all there. But ultimately, who solves all these problems? It's Jesus. All right, David is just a foreshadow. He's the one that sort of leads the way of bringing it all back. David does restore a lot of this in his lifetime, but Solomon does, but Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the answer, because Jesus is the one that talks to God through the ephod, really. He's the one that came down and communicated God to us. He is the presence of God, like the showbread was. He's all of those things. And so what happens if we don't follow Jesus? Chaos. It's just total chaos. And what happens even if just some of us don't follow Jesus? It's still chaos. I mean, it was Eli's family that caused all that problem. Everybody else had to suffer. So tonight, all of us need to decide with all of our heart, we choose Jesus. And if you haven't made that decision, you can make that. And if you made it over and over and over again, make it again tonight. I'm choosing Jesus. I'm going to follow Jesus because I don't want chaos in my life. And if we can help anybody come to the Lord or stay with the Lord, if you need our help in any way, come as we stand and sing.